Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is Pesachim Kuf Zayin. We are 9 lines from the top of the Amud. Says the Gemara, Amri le Mar Yenuka Umar Kshisha. That was their names. Rav Chizda had 2 sons, both named Mar. But to set them apart, they would call the younger one Mar Yenuka, the younger one, Umar Kshisha was the older Mar. So both sons, Mar Yenuka and Mar Kshisha, who were breder of Chizda, the sons of Chizda, they told Rav Ashi, Zim Nachada. There was once a story that Ikla Ameimar La'asrin, Ameimar arrived in our town. It was Shabbos, and Kamatzai Shabbos, it came time for Havdalah. V'lei Havalan Chamra. We didn't have any wine available. Aisina Le Shichra. We presented him with beer as a wine substitute, V'lei Avdal, and he refused to make Havdalah. He insisted on using wine, Ubas, and he went to sleep Tavas, hungry, in a fasting mode. He didn't want to eat before Havdalah. L'machar, the next day, Tarachna V'aisina Le Cham. We matriach ourselves to find him wine, V'avdil, and then he made Havdalah, V'ta'im Midi, and he finally ate something. L'shana, the next year came around, it was an annual event, next time he came, Su Iklal Asrin, he once again arrived in our town, Lo Yahavalan Chamra, we didn't have any wine to give him for Havdalah, Aisina Shichra, we brought beer. Now somebody, I think the Rasha says, they didn't bring him because they knew he wouldn't want to make on beer, but he saw that they were bringing beer for themselves, so he saw that this beer has prominence in this locale. It's used as a wine substitute. Omar, when he noticed that, he said, if that's the case, that the Rashbam learns, meaning that there was no wine available, and this is considered the beverage of choice instead of wine. Whereas the other version, Rambam, I think, learns that he means to say that this was a commonly drunk beverage. It was something of significance, something of importance. In any case, he changed his attitude. Amar ihochi chamar medino. This is considered chamar. Chamar is wine. Chamar medina. This is the wine of this province. Meaning, this is considered something of significance. It can be used as a substitute to wine, and therefore, even when it comes to havdalah or perhaps for kiddush, although you need something of chashivas like wine, this is classified as wine. Chamar medinahu, and therefore Abdil v'Tamidi, he made Havdalah and he had something to eat. Says the Gemara Shema Min Atlas, we can derive 3 halachas from this incident. 3 halachas regarding the correct procedure, the Havdalah procedure. Shema Min, number 1, we learn Hamavda b'Tefillah tzarich she'Havdalah kais. Even one who made Havdalah during Tefillah, which is generally the case, we have Atochen Antanu in Mitzvah Shemini Esrei, and we assume that Ameimar as well said that Havdalah. Still in all, he insisted on making Havdalah al-Kais. Apparently, that is necessary. Ushma minna, and we learn from here, Asr loy le'adam sheyoichal koydem sheyavdil. One cannot eat, or there's a girsa, Asr loy le'adam lit oim klum, even to have a small taste. Even that cannot be done, koydem Havdalah. Ushma minna, mishla hidl motzei Shabbos, mavda v'hoylach kol Shabbos kulay. We learn from here as well that if you missed Havdalah Motzei Shabbos, you can always make it up throughout the next week, which we actually learned yesterday. You have up until Tuesday. Now Tosfos points out that not necessarily from this story do we see that one can make Havdalah up until Tuesday, because in the first time around, right, the first time he came, he missed Havdalah at night, and he made it up the next day. Perhaps you can only make it up the next day, which is the other half of the night the night and day is 1 unit. Perhaps that's your deadline, but not past that. So why does the Gemara say that we learn from here that you can make Havdalah throughout the week? Tosfos says because that happens to be the halacha. We paskin that you can do that until Tuesday. And that's why the Gemara chooses to refer to it in this manner. Let's take a look at the Rashbam off to the right. Uvas tvas loshen lon mu'una. He went to sleep hungry. Shloi achal. V'kro b'Daniel, it's simply quoting a pasuk in Daniel, which has that term there. Chamar Medina, he noticed that this was a wine substitute. There's no wine in the city except for beer. This is considered their wine. If that's the case, it's okay for Havdalah. That's what we have Pascal Lamaisa, that Chamar Medina can be used for Havdalah. Aval, says the Rashbam, Mayim lo ikru Chamar Medina. Water is not called Chamar Medina, even though it's perhaps the beverage of choice. You cannot use water even when there's no beer or wine. Chamar Medina has to be something of chashiva, something of significance. Today we would apply that to alcoholic beverages, to schnapps, to beer. Some would say even coffee, something which you'd use to be machabed a guest. It's not necessarily just coming to quench thirst. So wine, beer, or another Chamar Medina, but not wine, or certainly does not qualify. Continues Rashbam. Shabbos Minotlas. Gimel Dvarim B'Sidrei Havdalah. We learned three things regarding the Seder Havdalah. So one was that you need to make Havdalah on a kais even after you make Havdalah b'tefillah. Number two, you can't eat before Havdalah. Number three, you can always make it up after Matzah Shabbos. Ask Rashbam Akasha. Don't we have a fourth thing that we learned from here? We just learned another aspect of Havdalah. You can do it on Chamar Medina as well. Why was that not added to the Shema Mina list? We have four things. Says Rashbam Lo Chashiv. That wasn't added. The Lo Eirel B'Seder Havdalah. The Gemara was simply speaking about the order, the proper procedure, not relating to the substance of the Havdalah. Inami. Alternatively, says the Rashbam, most of the pshito, it's something which is pashut. The kivin yain achev if there's no other wine, toiv l'shiyav d'lachas shal shecher. Then of course better make Havdalah on beer mishlei yavdil klal rather than missing Havdalah completely. Better beer than nothing. If so, it's a davar pashut, and the Gemara does not have to highlight that fact. Continues the Gemara. Why the Bach is Gerish opposite. That Rav Chizda asked Rav Huna, because Rav Huna was a Talmud of Rav, and as we're going to see, he was the one who asked Rav. So either way, one asked the other. Ma'o l'kedushi ash-shichra. Can one make kiddush on beer? Omar, he responded, of course not. Hashta, look, Uma pirzuma. In a Kavachim, we find that even high quality beers, you see, their typical beer was made from dates, which was a relatively low quality beer. And that was a shayla, can you make kiddush on date beer? And he responded, well, even high quality beers are unsuitable for kiddush. Hashta ma pirzuma. This was beer made from sa'irin, from barley. Ute'eni, or beer made from figs, va'asni, or made from these berries, from these snabush, which are higher quality beers. Even those beers are not suitable. I asked Rav whether it can be used for kiddush. And Rav asked his uncle Rabbi Chia, Rav from Chia from his uncle Rabbi. So I asked Rav, and Rav asked Rabbi Chia, and Rabbi Chia from Rabbi. And he didn't respond. He didn't respond whether or not it can be used for kiddush. Apparently, it cannot be used for kiddush. Shechra baya? Do you need to speak about standard, typical beer, date beer? Of course not. You can't even use high quality beer for kiddush. Of course, not your low quality date beer. So now, the Gemara figured, or it was maybe the one who asked the Shaila, Rav Huna or Rav Chizda, he figured, okay, Kiddushi Hudalim Akdishina. You can't use it for Kiddush because Kiddush is Menat Torah, and it needs something of importance, of significance. Kiddushi Hudalim Akdishina Mikadishina Eluve. You can't make Kiddush on beer. You need to have wine. Aval Avdulim Adalina, perhaps Havdalah you can make using beer because Havdalah does not have the same status as Kiddush, and it's certainly not Menat Torah. Perhaps that's okay. Rav Chizda responded to him, no. Hachiyama Rav. Now we had a direct quote from Rav. who said, Kishem she'en mekachin olav, just like you cannot use beer for Kiddush, kachem avdil olav, likewise you can't use it for Havdalah either. So according to this Shita, Sheikhar, which is Chamar Medina, whether a high quality beer, low quality beer, cannot be used for Kiddush or Havdalah. You need to have wine in specific. Itmar Nami learned as well, Amar Rav Tachlif, Amar Avimi, Amar Shmuel. So Shmuel also agreed to this halacha. Kishem she'en mekachin olav, just as you cannot use beer for Kiddush, kach em avdil olav, likewise you can't use it for Havdalah. Now actually in halacha l'maisa we hold that you can use Chamar Medina for Kiddush or Havdalah. Obviously we prefer wine for Kiddush, but in the event where it's not feasible, or as the Mishnah Berurah says, during the daytime Kiddush we can even be mekel, it seems even lechatchila, if a person prefers, if he has a preference to use some type of alcoholic beverage. Same thing regarding Havdalah, then Chamar Medina is acceptable. In fact, in the Ramah, he brings that some were mahader to make Havdalah on Motzei Pesach with beer, because they missed beer so much. It was something really chavev to them. In fact, it's brought down from the Vilna Gaon that he specifically would make Havdalah on Motzei Pesach with beer, to show that the refraining from matzah was because of the mitzvah, from chametz was simply because of the mitzvah to do Ratzon Hashem, and now it's time for beer, for chametz. So we have varying opinions regarding Chamar Medina. According to Rabbi Shmuel, you cannot use Chamar Medina, but according to Ameimar, as we learned earlier, you can use that beer as we saw that he used it for Havdalah. Levi, says the Gemara, Levi shada le Rebbe. Levi sent a gift to Rebbe. Shichra was a beer, but a very high quality beer, very concentrated. Bar Tleisar Magni. It was steeped in 13 batches of dates. This was date beer, but it was reprocessed 13 times. So the water was laid on not one batch of dates, absorbed its flavor. They went on to the next batch. This happened 13 times over, and it was very, very high quality concentrated date beer. Tamid Hababasam Tuva, Rebbe tasted it, and it was very, very tasty, very high quality beer. Omar, he said, Kigoin Zeh. Now, actually, some girses have it as Levi not sending it to Rebbe, because Rebbe was the one who held earlier that you cannot make Kiddush on Chamar Medina. Some have a different girse, Rabbi Rachana, Rabbi Rav Huna. In any case, he tasted it, and he was very impressed with its taste. Omar, he said, Kigoin Zeh. This type of material is so worthy. Roy lekadash olav. It is worthy for making kiddush on it. V'loymar olav kol shirois. V'sushpachash ba'olam, to make kiddush and to recite all song and tishpachas for Hashem. So this was by day. Pelelya, that very night, tsa'ari, it pained him. He had a stomach ailment from this date concoction. Rashbam brings the Gemara Ksuva is that dates have that effect. Omar, then he exclaimed and he said, well, I changed my attitude. Misran, these things, they hurt. They're miyaser a person. They pain a person. Umafayas, and is it right to appease Hashem with it? Certainly not. Omar of Yosef, Oda Barab, I'm going to make a public vow. A neder barabim does not have doesn't have the option of annulling it. I'm going to make a neder de'leishti shichar, that I will refrain from drinking date beer. Amrava ishti meizur. I'd rather drink water in which flax was soaked, very foul smelling water. I'd rather drink that leishti shichar rather than drinking date beer. Famarava tehave shakyuse shichra. A man the mikalish hashukra, one who chooses beer for his kiddush rather than taking something which is more chashev, wine. Midah keneged midah, measure for measure, he should not be able to afford anything but sheikhar. Tehave shekyuse, his beverage, his commonly drunk beverage, should be shichra, should only be sheikhar. Man the mikalish hashukra, one who chooses to make kiddush on beer. Rav Ashkechei Rav Huna. Rav Huna noticed Rav the Kaddish Ashichra. He was making beer on making kiddush on beer. And the Rashbam learns that he had wine available, but it was chaviv to him. He preferred beer, as we learned yesterday, that Rav sometimes would make kiddush on bread, if he preferred bread. So in this case, he was making kiddush on beer. Amar lei, Rav Huna turned to him and he said, Shari Abba. Abba was a respectable term to Rav. Shari Abba. Abba began lemikni istiri, to produce coins. Istir is a coin, to profit, to make money from mishicha, from beer. He started producing beer and he took a liking to it. And is that perhaps why he decided to make you kiddush on beer? Tan Rabban, ein mekatchen ela yain. One is only meant to make kiddush on wine, ve'ein mevorchen ela ala yain. And likewise, a bracha is only meant to be said on wine. He says, what do you mean? Atu ashichur amai, do you mean on beer and water? Mila mevrachin alayo shahakal nebedvar. We don't make a shahakal. What do you mean? A bracha is only said on wine. Amar Abaye, Amar, this is what he meant to say. Ein oyimrim have koshel bracha levarech ela ala yain. That when it comes to a koshel bracha, brachas hamazain, we only say it on a kos of wine. So this brisa holds that only wine is suitable for kiddush. Ton Rabban ein makachn ala sheicher. In fact, this brisa as well holds that kiddush cannot be said on beer. Mishum Rabbi Lezer Rab Shimon Amru mikachn. Yeah, you can make kiddush even on beer. And in fact, that's the halach l'maisa, that you can make kiddush or havdalah on chamar medina when necessary. Continues the Gemara, mat emes, or there's a gersa uti imas yain kolshu. We learned the other day that when one makes a bracha, a kosher bracha, a kiddush, etc., the mevarach needs to taste a bit of that wine. How much? Kolshu, even just a little bit. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, malay lugma or malay lugmav. It needs to be a cheekful. Taisa says that's roiva revius. And the Rashbam points out that lechatchila, it should be the one making the bracha who tastes the wine. But in fact, if any of the ones that are listening to the bracha being yitzei will be time as well, that's also considered. Amar Rav Huna Amar v'chein tani Rav Gidol de Minarash, Rav Gidol of that town, hamekadesh v'tam le'lugmo yatsa v'im lav le'yatsa. If he had the cheekful is yotza, if not. Amar Nachmar Yitzchak, you quoted Rav Gidol de Minarash. Add a different version. Ana Tanira Lo. The way I learned it was like Gidol bar Menashe. There were several Gidols. It was not in the name of Gidol bar Menashe. It was like Gidol bar Menyumi, and not the name of Gidol bar Menyumi. El Gidol Stam. It was said in the name of just plain Gidol, without any suffix, without any additional title. And we're not really sure which Gidol it was, whether it was this one or that one. What's the point of discussing this? Because suppose you have a stira from this shita of Gidol to another Gidol elsewhere. Now, if you know specifically which Gidol it was, you can have it as a stira. But if you don't know, if it's just Gidol Stoma, you don't know which Gidol it was, in which case you cannot ask a contradiction from one on the other. Let's summarize the Gemara up until this point. We learned about Kiddush, about Havdalah. We had 3 halachas regarding Havdalah. You meant to make Havdalah B'Tefillah and then ala kois. You're not meant to eat before Havdalah. And if you miss Havdalah on Motzei Shabbos, you can always make it up until Tuesday, which is still connected to previous Shabbos. Now, lichatchila, you meant to make Kiddush on wine, which is a beverage of chashivas, of significance, as we learned yesterday. Zachar Yom was the kacha, Zachar al yayin, lichatchila, the takana was to make it on wine. Same thing regarding Havdalah, but the halacha l'mais is that it can be done even on Chamar Medina, which is a wine substitute, a beverage of chashivas in that town. And of course, this is relative to the climate and culture, depending on what's happening in that town at that specific era, whether this has chashivas or not. Regarding nowadays, there are many different categories of beverages, and and to consult the Sfarim regarding specific beverages, it's acceptable to have kiddush at least by day on schnapps, and some would even say coffee, because that's something which is served to a guest as chashivas, and some hold that is also considered Chamar Medina. But as the Rashbam pointed out, certainly mayim, as important as it is not considered Chamar Medina. We learned regarding being toyim the kais. According to one sheet, even a mashru is enough, and according to the other sheet, you need to have a mloy lugmav, a chikful, and indeed that's the way we paskin chatchilim, and to have a mloy lugmav. Continues the Gemara, samach l'mincha. Let's get back to the Mishnah, all the way in the beginning of the parak. Arei Pesachim, samach l'mincha. This was on Tzaddik Tesson Beis. Erev Pesach, close to mincha time. Lo yichal adam ad shetechshach. One should refrain from having a filling eating experience. A Suda likewise, until nighttime. And now the Gemara is going to want to figure out what exactly is the definition of the word samach mincha. What does mincha mean? Now, mincha means tefillas mincha, which corresponds to the time the Beis Hamikdash when they would be makriv the tamid shel ben arbaim. Now, technically, you could be makriv it after chatzos or half hour after chatzos. Suppose the day begins and ends at 6, and we split that day into 12 equal parts. Sha'os maniyos. You would begin the tamid shel ben arbaim at 12:30. It was called mincha gedola because there was still a long segment of that day until nighttime. Mincha getana was actually when the tamid was typically brought in the Beis Hamikdash. It was hukrav at 9:30, which would mean 3:30. Now samach, close to that mincha time, the Rashbam learns, is a half hour. So if mincha means mincha gedola 12:30, samach mincha means at 12 o'clock you must stop eating at that point. Whereas if mincha here is in reference to mincha ketana, which is the later point of the afternoon, where the tamid shel ben arbaim was typically brought at 9:30, that was called mincha ketana because there was only a short segment of the day available. There was just a short part of the day left over. It's called mincha ketana. And samach mincha would mean at 3 o'clock. Says the Boilu, the Bnei Yeshiva wanted to know samach mincha gedola ktan. When we say lo yechal samach mincha, does it mean mincha gedola at 12 o'clock? Or iduma samach mincha ketana tanan, or does samach mincha mean the next mincha, which is 3:30? Samach would be 3 o'clock. What would be the two tzedadim? Samach mincha gedola tanan was in reference to the long mincha. And what would be the reason for that? Umishum Pesach, for concern of perhaps missing out on the Korban Pesach. Dilma asal mimshach. Because if he sits down for a meal, that meal might extend itself and get prolonged. He might actually miss the opportunity to bring Korban Pesach. He might miss out and not bring his Korban Pesach. So perhaps that is the kavanah of the Mishnah. Lo yechal adam samach mincha at shetechshach. He shouldn't sit down to a meal at 12 o'clock. This way it won't interfere with the Korban Pesach. That's one option. Or perhaps samach mincha ketana tanan. We're referring to the mincha ketana, and samach to that mincha, which is 3 o'clock. At that point, stop eating. Umshum matzah, so that it doesn't interfere with matzah. How is it going to interfere? It's going to take away your appetite. Dilma asa lemichla. Perhaps if he overeats during the day, he's no longer going to have the proper appetite for matzah that night. It's Mr. Daraisa to eat matzah the first night of Pesach, and it's not meant to be eaten achila gasa. When he's full, that's called achila gasa. Is overeating, that's not considered a proper achila. In fact, the Rashbam will bring that it's called mazik. He's actually destroying the food. It's not considered eating. And that's the concern here. Don't overeat Erev Pesach. Stop eating early enough in the day in order to reserve the appetite for the matzah. So which way is it? Samach mincha is 12 o'clock on account of the concern of missing the Korban Pesach. Or as Tosfos points out, even if he decides, well, I'll have my Korban Pesach right away, and then I'll sit down to my meal. So it says, no, even there's a concern because he might hurry up, he might rush the Korban Pesach in anticipation of his meal, and he'll end up doing the Pesach improperly. This is why the Chachamim set down a standard halacha: don't have a meal past Chatzos. So that's one option. The other option is, no, it's nothing to do with Pesach, it has to do with matzah, in order to reserve one's appetite for the matzah. Let's take a look at the Rashbam here. The top line of the Rashbam, Oidilma, Samach Minchak Tamim. What does that mean? V'hainu begemar teshois. Once 9 hours are up, which is 3 o'clock. The Metesha Shosum Mechza, from 3:30 and on, have a Zman da Akravas Tamid Shekol Hashana. That was typically when they would bring the Korban Tamid. Kishem U'uchar, when it was brought late, meaning the typical Zman Akrav Tamid was, Hakrava was at 3:30. Now, if that is the definition of Samach Mincha, explains the Rashbam, it's already related to missing out on the Korban Pesach, because it's past. It's already past Hakrava's Pesach. The Hashtam Meshememnu Pesach Leka. There's no concern of interfering with the Korban Pesach. The Erev Pesach, they would actually advance things on Erev Pesach. Hayatamid Karav B'Shmoyne Mechza. Pesach Achrav. Sorry, actually on Erev Pesach, the Tamid was brought at 8:30, and the Pesach afterwards. Meaning, typically, on a typical year, typical day, the Tamid was Nishchat at 8:30, and the Hakrava at 9:30. On Erev Pesach, the Tamid was born an hour earlier. Nishchat 7:30. This is the Mishnah Daf Meches. Nishchat at 7:30, and the Hakrava took place at 8:30, and then the Korban Pesach. Therefore, says the Rashbam, on Erev Pesach, once you're at 9:30, meaning at 3:30 in the afternoon, then you're past the Hakrava of the Korban Pesach, because the Tamid was already carved at 8:30, and the Pesach immediately following the Tamid. By the time 9.5 hours of the day came around, which is 3:30, you're already past the Korban Pesach. So apparently when the Mishnah says don't eat at that point, it has nothing to do with the Korban Pesach. Lefichach, in Balechal Samach Minchak Tana, Dainu Gmar Tisha, if he wants to sit down and have a meal a half hour before Minchak Tana is 9.5, so he wants to sit down at 3 o'clock, there's no concern. It's already after Shchitas HaPesach. There's no concern about interfering with the Pesach. The only thing you still have a concern about is the appetite for the matzah. He shouldn't have it when he's in a state of fill, when he's full and he's just overeating. Now the Rashbam asks a kasha. Why do we mention specifically matzah in this regard? The same concern of achila gasa by matzah you should have by Pesach as well. When he namid mishum Pesach ikal mechash lachila gasa. The truth is that for Pesach as well we have the same concern. He should not eat the Pesach in an achila gasa manner. Now the afagab du nechal al even though we know that Pesach is meant to be eaten when you're somewhat full, not hungrily. This way, it gives that dignified appearance. You're eating it as a dessert, so to speak, ala soiva. But that doesn't mean achila gas. Big difference between ala soiva, when you still have a desire, you're still somewhat hungry, and just stuffing oneself. Achila gas, achila. That's not even called an achila. But because shemazaku, the chashvin lebi vamis. The Gemara considers it a mazik. So why does the Gemara specifically refer to matzah with this concern? Don't overeat Erev Pesach because matzah will be eaten achila gas. What happened to Pesach? Says the Rashbam, there is a difference. El mishum de lekabe lechem av achila gas ab achila moetes. No kad matzah. Because it's easier to lose your appetite for bread than for meat. And even a small-sized meal can interfere with the achila, with the appetite for matzah, can result in achila gas. Whereas when it comes to Basar Pesach, it's more difficult to create that situation of achila gas. And that's why the Gemara specifically mentions matzah in this context, that carries a greater risk. Don't eat an Erev Pesach because even a small size achila might interfere with the achila of matzah. Iname, another pshat says the Rashbam Rabusa Ka'amar. The chiddush here is Vachi Ka'amar. Oidumo samchu milcha ktana afilu bezman like a Pesach. Even bezman azem when there is no korban Pesach. So like l'mechash l'asiyasoi l'achilasoi. There's no concern about interfering with the asiyah of the korban Pesach or with the achila. There is no Pesach bezman azem. Still on all, mishum achilas matzah mi'ika. Of course, they're still concerned about properly fulfilling achilas matzah. The lehavi achilagasa chai shiman. We're concerned about it resulting in achila gaza from matzah. Okay, so these are the two sides of the equation. What does the Mishnah mean? How do we interpret the word mincha in the Mishnah? Does it mean mincha g'dola for concern of interference with the korban Pesach's asiyah, or is in reference to mincha ktana? We're past the akrov of the Pesach. We're concerned merely about interfering with the achila of matzah or achila of Pesach. Amar Ravina Tashma, bring it right from the Brisa. Afilu Agrippas HaMelech. Agrippas was a melech kosher haya, says the Rashbam. Malchei Chashmonai. He was a melech kosher. He wasn't a Rasha. He was from the family of Malchei Chashmonai. And Afilu Agrippas HaMelech, says the Brisa, Shehu Ragel Lechel B'Tesha Shoyes. Like all kings, he would get up late into the day, and he would have his breakfast only at 9 hours in the day. He would sit down to breakfast at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So even him, that day, meaning Erev Pesach, he should not sit down to have his meal until nighttime. And that's the chiddush. That's the. It seems to be this was a chiddush that even the king who sits down to his breakfast so late in the day, the halacha applies to him as well. So that's the Brisa. Says the Gemara, let's analyze. Now, this makes sense if when the Mishnah says don't have a meal, it's in reference to mincha ktana, which means mincha ktana is 3:30, samcha mincha is 3 o'clock. If that's the pshat, now we understand the Brisa. Hainu revuse d'Agrippas. That would be the chiddush in the Brisa, that even Agrippas, who hadn't had anything today, this was his breakfast, and when is he sitting down to have his meal? Rog lecho b'teisha shoyes. I apologize. Teisha does not mean at 3 o'clock. It means at 2 o'clock. Right? He sat down at the beginning of the 9th hour, which was actually 2 o'clock. Day begins at 6. So teisha shoyes means at 2 o'clock, which was still a full hour before Izman Isser at 3. And that indeed is the chiddush. Hainu Rabbusi Agrippas. Here we have a chiddush. Even though it's still well in advance of the deadline, he would not sit down to eat. Why? If he began beheter, what's the problem? Apparently because he knows full and well that his royal breakfast will extend itself well beyond his manis, or past the deadline. And that's why he may not do so. But this works if we're speaking Zman Mincha Ktana. Eli Amrs Samacha Mincha G'doluk Tanan. But if when the Mishnah says, don't eat Samacha Mincha, what does it mean? Samacha Mincha G'doluk, which is at 12 o'clock. I Amrs Samacha Mincha G'doluk Tanan, Myra Busi Agrippas. What would be the chiddush that even Agrippas should not engage in a meal at that time? What do you mean? It's already past deadline. Deadline is 12 o'clock. Now it's 3 o'clock. Chal Isser Li Mikara. The Isser has already been activated before his breakfast. Says the Ella Samacha Mincha Tanan. Okay, let's follow your approach. Apparently, you're proving it here. Samacha Mincha means at 3 o'clock. Soif. Ultimately, Mayra Busid Agrippas. Even that seems difficult. What would be the chiddush regarding Agrippas? Hamatile Zmani Surah. Look, he knows that his meal will extend beyond deadline. Who may not sit down to have a meal when he knows full and well that, now it's before deadline, but it's going to extend beyond deadline? So even according to you, Samach Mincha means in the afternoon, means 3 o'clock. Why would the Brisa highlight the Chiddush of Agrippas? He wouldn't sit down to have his breakfast at 2 o'clock. If he knows full well that his breakfast will extend beyond the deadline, of course it can't be done. Says where no, there is a Chiddush. Now the time, perhaps I would think, Teisha Shois Agrippas. This Teisha Shois breakfast, this 2 o'clock in the afternoon breakfast to Agrippas, doesn't have the same effect. It won't interfere with his appetite that night. Ka'arba Shois, well, you done dummy. They would have breakfast at 4 hours into the day. That was a typical schedule. So perhaps his 2 o'clock breakfast, his Teisha Shois breakfast, is equated to our standard breakfast, which takes place 4 hours into the day. And certainly doesn't interfere with our nighttime meal. Since this is his first meal, this is his breakfast. Perhaps no concern of interfering with the Pesach at night, with that appetite for matzah. Kamashmon, the Chiddush is no. That since he's sitting down to his meal so late into the day, we're concerned that it will rob him of his appetite for matzah that night. Let's take a look at the Rashbam. So we drop down to the widest lines of the Rashbam. It will be the second wide line. It says the Rashbam Seif. Ma'ir Abusi Dagripas. Hamatale Idan Isurei. Fine. Let's say Mincha Ketana means in the afternoon. Means 3 o'clock. What is the Chiddush of Agrippas? Izman Isser will arrive before he completes his meal. Kaidem Shigma Sudasei. Dafilu Rabbi Yossi the Polik. B'afsakas Erev Pesach, Breish Pirka. Now we had this machlekes earlier. If one began his Suda Bizman Heter, and it extends past the deadline, Rabbi Yossi says no concern, just continue eating. Even according to him, says Rashbam, who disagrees with Rabbi Yehuda, who says you have to stop. He says no. V'amar shlo lahafsik, machash hischil le'echel beheter. Hacham moidi de aser. In this case, all will agree that it's aser. Why? Because he knew full and well, initially when he sat down to his meal, he knew it's going to extend past deadline. When he sat down at 2 o'clock, he knew he's only going to conclude that meal past his man isur. And that's not allowed. It's as though he began eating his meal after his man isur. So what would be the Chiddush? Asks the Gemara. What's the Chiddush? Of course he can't do it. Ma'od tema. Testa Agrippas ka'arba lidandami. The kivan delamed lechel b'teisha shoy. Since this is his daily schedule, this is his common practice to have his breakfast at teisha shoys, perhaps it doesn't pose a concern. Ka'arba shoys lidandami. It's like our breakfast in the morning. V'yochel gamu matzal te'avain gamu kamoiseinu. Just as when we have our breakfast in the morning, it doesn't interfere with that night's meal. Perhaps for Agrippas, having his breakfast at 2 in the afternoon, that won't create an interference. And since it's still pre-deadline, it's only 2 o'clock, this works if Samach Mincha is when? 3 o'clock. Then we have a Chiddush. Even the Agrippas is having his breakfast now. And when is he beginning that breakfast? Before the deadline. It's only 2 o'clock. No, he's not meant to partake in the meal at that point. But if Samach Mincha means 12 o'clock, Lekal Rabusa Klal, there will be absolutely no Chiddush in mentioning Agrippas. There will be no reason to say, well, Afilu Agrippas HaMelech shouldn't have his meal. Why? Because since the concern is interfering with the asiyah of the Korban Pesach and unrelated to Achila Gas of Matzah, Lekala Meimar Hachi. There's no way to say, well, Ma'al de Tema, Tesla Agrippas, Kadal de Dandami. There's no way to bring out the Chiddush regarding Agrippas. Why would he be any different? Why would you think that he could sit down to his meal at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and interfere with the Korban Pesach. Hilkach, says Rashbam, conclude from this regarding our Shaila. What does Samach Mincha mean? Conclude with certainty. Shamini Minah de Mincha K'tana K'tanan. When the Mishnah says Lo Yochel Adam Samach Mincha, of course it means Mincha K'tana, which was 3:30. Samach means 3 o'clock, and the concern is regarding interfering with the person's appetite. But it doesn't apply to Mincha G'dola. There's no concern of interfering with the Korban Pesach. Continues the Gemara. So we know Lo Yochel Adam. What does that mean? A meal, even a snack? Says the Gemara, it only applies to things which will interfere with one's appetite. Amar Rabbi Yossi, or Amar Rav Asi, according to some Gerses. Aval mat pilu b'mei netar gima, but he can dip. They used to always dip their food. He can dip with basar, peres. Rashbam says, Tosfos says even mezoines, which will not interfere with one's appetite. Rabbi Yitzchak matpo b'yarki, he would actually dip vegetables, and the Rashbam explains that not only do these things not interfere with one's appetite, but actually they serve as an appetizer to stimulate one's appetite. Tanna mihachi, we learned likewise in the Brisa, Shamash, the servant preparing the meal, matbil b'nei ayin, he would prepare, would dip the stomachs of the animals, of the animal shechted for Pesach, obviously not the karbonis, but the behemoths there, and serve the guests. Now the Rashbam learns that we're bringing a raya to this concept that eating something light before a meal can actually get your system going and stimulate one's appetite. And we're going to bring an indication to this effect from the pasuk. Even though we don't have an open raya to this concept, we have an indicator. The pasuk in Yirmiyah tells us, go plow your fields prior to sowing it with seeds. This way you won't be zarei kaitzim to the thorns, meaning avail your field, plow it and prepare it for the planting. This way the seeds will take hold. Apparently plowing something, getting it prepared for the process, assists in the upcoming process, and eating something light as an appetizer will generate actually more appetite and stimulate one's desire. And therefore not only did it interfere, but actually was something to do. In fact, Rava, Havashasi Chamra, Kuli Malayom de Pesach, he would drink wine throughout the whole Erev Pesach. It should draw his heart, meaning it should stimulate his appetite, which will result in him eating more matzah that night. How do I know that wine stimulates? The chamar migagara, it stimulates one's appetite. It's not. We have the 4 kaises of wine by the Seder. In between the kaises, between number 1 and 2, between 2 and 3, if a person chooses to drink wine, he can add and drink wine in between as well. But between 3rd and 4th, he should not drink, as we're going to see in the Rashbam, who gives us a reason for this. Now, this is Rava speaking. If wine fills a person and detracts from his appetite, why should he drink between the kaises? It's going to fill him and will result in him eating the matzah inappropriately. Apparently wine will not fill him. Actually, it's going to stimulate his appetite. And Tosfos brings more brachas that wine actually fills chamra soid u'mesamech, and he says that it depends how much. Tuva gur, lots of wine will actually stimulate his appetite. Purta soid, a bit will have the opposite filling effect. In any case, Rava brought a raya from this brisa that wine actually stimulates one's appetite. It's actually a Mishnah, and that's why he engaged in wine drinking in Erev Pesach to enhance his achilas matzah. Let's take a look at the Rashbam on the top line. Ben akoy salo. Ben Rishon l'Sheni, Ben Sheni l'Shlishi, Umachasham l'Chamra Migur Garle, who can farshvaz. Go ahead, drink wine, which will stimulate one's appetite. However, Ben Shlishi l'Rvi la yishte. Why? Shlishi the Berachas Hamazon. The third is Berachas Hamazon. And then stop drinking wine. The Kibbutz l'Chashinai l'Gri Liba, since he's done his matzah, he's finished his meal. We have no interest in generating more appetite. We don't allow him to drink more. Why? It looks like he's adding to the kaisis. Meant to have only 4, and by drinking an additional cup of wine, it would look like he's adding to the number of wine. So, really, this concern applies all over. But it appears that the grira liba, the stimulation factor, overrides this factor. And therefore, between 1, 2, 2, and 3, where we still have an interest of appetite generation, then we allow him to add more wine. But once he's done his meal and the interest is gone, he's finished his matzah, we don't want him to add more wine, which will appear perhaps like he's adding to the number of kaises. But Gemara is Yerushalmi, we have Yerushalmi, which says like this. Another reason, Lama, why can't he have more wine? He shouldn't become shikr. In which case he won't be able to finish his halal. The Gemara asks, what do you mean? If this fellow gets affected by wine and he's fully intoxicated at this point, already had drunk a lot of wine. The Gemara answers, mid-meal wine doesn't have the same effect because it's absorbed by the food. Wine drunk after a meal will or can have that effect and bring him to shechrus, and therefore better don't add more wine. So we learned that a person should not engage in achila samach mincha ktana. That was the conclusion of the Gemara, for concern of interference with the achila of matzah that night. However, small-sized snack, things which consider appetizers, which actually generate and stimulate one's appetite, it's actually mutter, and as we see from Rava, it is something which is actually advisable. Okay, let's do a quick chazar of today's daf. We began discussing the proper material used for Kiddush and Havdalah. We had a story with Hameimar. Initially he figured wine and nothing else, but then he saw that in this town, beer had prominence. It was used as a wine substitute, and therefore he acquiesced and made his Kiddush with beer. We continued with several shitas that did not allow Chamar Medina to be used for Kiddush or Havdalah, and some shitas do, and in fact that's the halacha today. Chamar Medina can be used for Kiddush or Havdalah. We learned about various types of beer, the lowest quality of all being the date beer, which actually can cause a person stomach ailment, and it's not really right for shirs, the shbachis. We had the halacha that when one makes a bracha with wine, kashal bracha, berachas hamazon, etc., he's meant to have a te'ima, and according to one shita, muloy lugmav, a cheekful. Then we proceeded with the halacha of lo yochel adam samach mincha. Interesting. Tosfos points out, how do we get to the word mincha? Why do we call the tfilas mincha tfilas mincha? This is the Ramasal Samach mincha. It says Tema Amai Karele mincha. Why do we call it mincha? How did it get that name? Is it because a korban mincha was brought in the afternoon, the Beis Hamikdash? Well, even in the morning, together with Tamid Shal Shachar, a mincha was brought, minchas chavitim, minchas tamid. Tosfos has two terutzim. He says the Tfilas HaShachar has a different name. Tfilas HaShachar, it's one that has its own unique name. That's enough. But the afternoon Tfilah doesn't have a specific name. Therefore, it's called Tfilas HaMincha on account of the mincha which is brought in the afternoon. Another pshat, based on the Gemara Brachis, that one is meant to be zohar, extra careful with Tfilas HaMincha, because Eliyahu Navi was only answered b'Tfilas Mincha. This was when he was standing on the Har Carmel, demonstrating that Hashem is the Hashem Olakim, and Hashem responded to him with Tfilas Mincha. And Tosfos says perhaps the reason why we call it Tfilas Mincha is because it was Bish'as Hakravas mincha nena. He was answered when he was being makriv his mincha. So being that's how that event took place, and that's how he was answered, b'schus the mincha, that's why we call it mincha as well. Sha'az haya sha'as ratzain, to make reference to the sha'as ratzain by Eliyahu due to the mincha that he was makriv. There's another pshat brought on the Hagoyis on the side, in the name of Abu Duram. He says it's called mincha, v'nikr zes atfila mincha, p'nei shebisha asiris min hayayim. Way back on the 6th day of the Brias Ha'olam, on the 10th hour of that day, sheniver by ha'adam arishan chata. He ate tzadas at that point. V'zeu shekasav l'ruach hayayim, u'metargiminan l'monach yoyma. It was l'ruach hayayim, that's the pasuk describing where he was. And l'ruach yoyma, the Targum says l'monach yoyma. L'monach and l'ruach go hand in hand. And somehow the mincha, our tefillas mincha, what takes place in the afternoon, somehow relates to that, the kapara, the ritzui, of Adam Arishan, and that's what we call it mincha. Interesting pshat in the word mincha. In any case, what does mincha mean? The mincha gedola, the long mincha, the short mincha. One option is mincha gedola, an account of the Korban Pesach. We don't want to interfere with the Korban Pesach. Don't sit down to a meal at 12 o'clock. It might interfere with the Korban Pesach. Or a dilma means late afternoon, mincha ketana, which is 3:30. Samach mincha is 3 o'clock. Due to the interference with the person's appetite, it might bring him to achila gasa. The Gemara conclusion was, certainly it's an appetite issue, as we see from the story of Agrippas, that even he, who would wake up late and have his royal breakfast at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, would refrain, because it may interfere with one's appetite. And apparently it's an appetite issue, and that's the conclusion, as the Rashbam says, that's the conclusion of the Gemara. Means now, the Gemara concludes, of course, this only applies to something of significance, which will interfere with one's appetite, but something light, some type of appetizer is okay, not only okay, but actually preferred because it will stimulate further appetite. Hatzlacha Rabbah and all the best.